It's in human nature to act impulsively, often neglecting the weight of our decisions. We do things to feel better in the moment, brushing off the consequences as if tomorrow will somehow fix itself. But sometimes, tomorrow never comes. In this episode, we are not here to talk about solutions. We are here to talk about consequences. What happens after decision has been made, after the final act. I'll be honest, this is not a topic I find easy to discuss. But life doesn't give us the luxury of avoiding the uncomfortable. Recent events have pushed me to open up about it. I'm not here to explain what suicide is. You likely already know, but for those who may not, in the simplest terms, it's taking your own life. But today's discussion isn't about the causes or the solutions. Instead, we are focusing on the aftermath, the ripple effects of that decisions. Let me tell you a story about Rob. Rob was my cousin, a towering figure physically and metaphorically. At 32, he ran small business that kept his family afloat. His wife, a homemaker, was around the same age. They had 3 kids, Ray, who had just started high school at 13, Rick, a 10-year-old in primary school, and little Rita, just 2, barely learning to form the word mama. From the outside, theirs was a picture-perfect family. Not one of luxury, but one of warmth, joy, and love. A house full of life. Until one morning. The sun barely risen, I woke to screams. A crowd had gathered outside. Rob's body, lifeless, swaying gently in the cold morning air, hanging from a tree. We buried him, and just like that, he was gone. But the tragedy didn't end there. His death shattered more than just his life. His wife, having already lost her mother and 2 brothers, was now burying her husband. Her grief was a palpable weight suffocating her. His children, one just beginning high school, another still in primary, and a toddler too young to understand, suddenly faced a future that no longer felt secure. The safety net, the provider, gone. What did Rob leave behind? A family in ruins, deaths, unanswered questions, and the worst part, no one truly knows why. Was it mental health, financial stress, family conflict, theories, nothing but shadows? And that's Rob's story. His death didn't just end his life. It unraveled the lives of those he left behind. Now, let me tell you another story, another similar one, but with a different ending. This is a story about Eli. Eli is a close friend of mine, a young man with a heart full of hope. Despite everything he's endured, his childhood was nothing short of tragic. An absent father, a mother who could never truly be there, a mentally ill older brother, and sisters who were married off too young. Eli ended up in a children's home. Despite all this, he held on to his family, feeling the weight of the troubles, believing it was his burden to bear. Eli too faced the darkness. He told me once that he had not just suicidal thoughts, but a suicidal experience. He had seen death, he had felt its cold breath. One day he found himself alone at home, feeling the weight of the world crashing down on him. His family was falling apart and the responsibility was unbearable. He decided it was time. He contemplated the methods. There are countless ways to end it all: rope, poison, a jump from a height, a knife, but none seemed easy. Even dying isn't simple. He chose poison, he mixed it, prepared himself for the final moment, ready to find peace. And just as he lifted the cup to his lips, something stopped him. A thought flickered in his mind. What about my family? What if siblings find me like this? Could I leave them in that horror? He planned to drink the poison and run out to the road so his body would be found there. But in that fleeting moment, he paused long enough to rethink everything. Is it really hopeless? Do I have nothing to live for? And Eli stopped. He chose life. Two stories, two very different outcomes, one with a tragic end and the other a new beginning. Life can feel empty at times, like there's nothing left to fight for, but is death the answer? When Rob died, I remember speaking to my mother. She was devastated. She said something that stuck in me. Ni roho ya mauti. Like in layman's terms, say the spirit of death. She went on to tell me something I never knew. She had once considered suicide herself. Before we were born, I could have never existed. None of us could have. It's strange to think about it, isn't it? How close life can come to ending before it even truly begins. I've had my own struggles, my own brushes with that darkness, I won't lie to you. But there was always something pulling me back. Sometimes it was the people I loved. Sometimes it was just the thought of how much pain and my absence would cause. Because with suicide, you don't just end one life. You take pieces of everything else with you. If you are listening to this thinking you are alone, I hope Rob and Eli's stories gives you pause. Their stories are not folklore, they are real. They are raw and they are painful. But they remind us that life in all its messiness and despair is still worth holding on. There are always alternatives. There's always hope, even if it seems so far away. My name is Dr. Harold Lumo, and this has been Letter Beat. Remember, find a purpose or die for a cause. Don't die for nothing.